Hello gentlemen, I am Vitold, and in this ruthless comparison we've got a Ducati Multistrada V4S and a Triumph Tiger 1200 GT to run head to head through all the categories and be assessed as honestly as possible, and that is possible. Other than all motorcycles in this segment, I do not own a Tiger 1200 nor a Multistrada, so I am unbiased here and may share my real experiences, however harsh sometimes they are, and thoughts on these two with you guys. This is the point. In the end of the video, I'll tell you which bike out of these two I would buy and why. Now let's go through the listed points and find a winner in each category. We're starting off with the engine and performance. Ducati Multistrada V4S has the same exact setup as a pure V4 without an S in its name, and it's a 4-cylinder V engine, which is unusual pretty much today. So it's got 1158 cubic centimeters of displacement, 170 horsepower and 125 newton meters of torque. Triumph Tiger 1200 has a 3-cylinder inline engine with 1160 cubic centimeters of displacement, so almost identical in size, but it's got less power at 150 horsepower, but on the other hand more torque at 130 newton meters. Both are powerful on paper and quick in reality. Ducati can accelerate quicker, yeah, it can do it very smoothly, but it's got quite short gears, so you've got to be quick there as well, since the bike runs out of its capabilities equally quickly because of that. Tiger has longer gears, which I personally do prefer, despite, shooting forward not being as rapid as in a Ducati. Triumph also feels more relaxed and confident when accelerating from higher gears, and with also lower RPM. Ducati would choke and shake, while the Triumph would just spare us all that and smoothly go further. On the other hand, Tiger 1200 starts vibrating over 5000 RPM if you keep it there at steady RPM. Yet then Ducati has got some heat management issues, despite Ducati trying to prevent them by equipping the Multistrada with a rear 2-cylinders deactivation system, which is working when possible. It still gets super hot on the left side, and if that's where your stuff currently hangs, I do recommend moving it to the right side so that you don't end up with scrambled eggs. Triumph does have good heat management. Overall, Ducati, I believe, can be quicker, but Triumph lets you experience its performance in a more enjoyable way, mostly thanks to better, in my opinion, gearing. In this case, longer gears with more torque let you stick to a given gear for longer and still be in an area with plenty of power. Ducati quickly runs out of juice and makes it feel nervous when you push it. So if not to push it, then why all that power, right? I much prefer the Tiger's engine, even though I am aware that Ducati's edge is in performance. Tiger is just more pleasant to deal with, in my opinion. So there's a win for the Triumph. The second category is handling. Tiger 1200 in a GT variant, so not a rally, as this one rides very differently. It is pretty good. It's always neutral and is stable. It doesn't fight you, and after only just a bit of encouragement, it does what you want it to do, both at higher and at lower speeds. You can feel that the weight is high up in this bike, and so do you in the Ducati Multistrada V4S. It's not feeling super heavy, but you might expect it to be easier to manage around. At higher speeds, it is pretty okay and also neutral. It's not as good as the best in the category, just like the Tiger. In both, you'll likely be fun and not too encouraged, but also not too discouraged. Now seriously, these two feel so similar that I'm going to do an unusual thing and declare them as equals here, with both of them securing strong positions in this draw. Moving on to the third category, where there is one winner, it is a suspension. Both motorcycles are having electronically adjustable suspensions. Ducati comes with auto leveling, while Triumph has a very wide range of adjustment, from super crazy freaking soft to super crazy freaking stiff, with many levels to choose from and with a really large difference between the softest and the stiffest, which is impressive in the Triumph. Both bikes do dive significantly when braking with the front brake, as they've got front suspensions that are pretty soft. Triumph may be a little bit more affected by that because of its overall larger suspension travel at 20 centimeters in the front versus 17 centimeters in the front for Multistrada. In the rear, Tiger also has 20 centimeters, while Multistrada has 18 centimeters. Tiger can get more comfortable and it's visible in my opinion, so there's an edge for it there. Multistrada is generally a little bit more shaky than the Triumph, but I would still call it pretty much composed overall. On the other hand, the V4S has 22 centimeters of ground clearance, so 2 centimeters more than the Triumph with its 20 centimeters. This may depend here, as if you prefer to have your bike's suspension on the stiffer side, Multistrada will probably be fine for you. But Tiger also, as you can make it so stiff that you'll have to focus entirely on holding on to the handlebar when on a rough road. Then, if you want it super comfy, Tiger 1200 is the way to go all in, with Multistrada not being able to keep up with it. Triumph Tiger 1200 wins here. In the seat and position comfort, I may say that both bikes are really good. You may be sitting 1 centimeter lower on a Multistrada, as in the lowest seat setting it's at 84 centimeters, and getting a Triumph, it's starting from 85 centimeters tall. Both bikes can have their seats installed 2 centimeters higher, and then the V4 has it at 86 and Triumph Tiger at 87 centimeters. I kept both bikes in the lower setting with my 183 centimeters tall or 6 feet tall. The position on the Multistrada is very comfortable for me, the knee angle is relaxed and the handlebar is nicely wide. I've had the same feeling on the Tiger 1200. Both bikes have everything located where I personally would want it to be, and that is great. Multistrada has a pretty comfortable seat, which may be considered one of the best. Tiger has an even better seat. Not by that crazy much, but nicer, again for my taste and for my butt. I would be happy on both and would probably even leave the seats as they are, even on the Multistrada, the stock ones, which is unusual. So both are very good here, with a tiny, or maybe with some advantage for the Triumph. So I'm giving the win to the Triumph by some margin. Now in the wind protection category, Tiger has a few issues. First of all, there's a lot of turbulences generated by the windshield, and secondly, the way the air flows around the bike makes the road dirt shoot you from underneath, sort of. In my case, this is resulting in having stuff thrown into my helmet, which is not exactly what you want. Then there's the adjustment system that may get stuck, as it's a basically simple bar that you move up and down, and sometimes one of the sides doesn't want to go perfectly up, or you don't pull it perfectly straight up, or don't push it straight down, and this is where the trouble starts. Not the best execution overall, and Ducati does it better, as there aren't many turbulences, first of all, hitting you. And the adjustment system is, I think, so much better, with also one thing to grab and unlock the system, and then you just freely move the windshield up and down. It doesn't get stuck. It's quick, easy, and it's working well. The range is not the most impressive, the range of the height adjustment, and in order to have great wind protection, you will still need a taller windshield, but it all works well, and it works better than in the Triumph, so Ducati scores a victory here. Now the brakes. Ducati Multistrada V4S has strong brakes that inspire confidence both in the front and in the rear, and note that this does not apply to Multistrada, just a V4 without the S in its name, as Ducati from the beginning claims that a V4S, for whatever reason, has better brakes. So in a V4S, it's all good when it comes to brakes, except for the front suspension diving significantly when braking, but it's a side effect of that, of having strong brakes, basically, we could say. Tiger has a harder to get a lot from rear brake that has ABS kicking in very quickly, and so it doesn't brake so strong. The front brake is, on the other hand, very strong, but it's far from being easy to dose, in my opinion. It's quite nervous, and it requires a lot of precision, as otherwise it may engage very suddenly, and that's not very helpful in keeping control over any bike, especially one that's big and with soft front suspension. Ducati does it better in V4S, and it takes a win home here. In the next category, we've got drivetrain, and out of the two, Ducati uses a good old, cheap, uncomplex chain solution, while Triumph has a modern shaft drive, which works perfectly, I would say. It's a no-brainer to me, and a huge win for the Triumph. I don't see any advantages of using a chain in real life, especially in this category, and I don't really accept an argument of less power loss for the chain, as I feel it's not really relevant. It's not a racetrack, and we're not fighting for 99.9% efficiency of certain parts, but rather value free space for luggage, thanks to no spray can being needed on your bike at all times, We value comfort of being able to forget about spraying, about checking the tension, about working on it, about cleaning it and then replacing it and so on and so on. With sticky mess on the bike in addition to that as well on Ducati, come on. Triumph wins here. The 8th point of this comparison is a fuel tank, and it's going to be tricky as those particular versions have their own capacities, while there is an Explorer trim of a Tiger 1200 GT, also of a rally, but with a 30-litre tank. And Ducati has a newer Multistrada V4 Rally, also with a 30-litre tank. So how to approach it? The versions that I'm comparing have 22 liters for Ducati and 20 liters for the Triumph. With Triumph, you simply get a version of the same bike, or you can get a version of the same bike with a larger tank, while in the case of Ducati, the Rally version of Multistrada V4 is listed as a whole different model with taller suspension, and I would say that if you want these particular models, Triumph gives you more flexibility, more possibilities, and a 10% difference with Ducati having 2 liters more, it may not be making up for it. Especially that here I know riders are complaining about high fuel consumption on a Multistrada. So anyway, those 2 liters likely balance themselves out, if not more. And I believe I can hand over the win to Triumph Tiger 1200. The next category is weight, and both are close here on paper, with a Multistrada V4 with no S weighing 240 kilograms with fuel, and the base Tiger 1200 GT also weighing the same. Then Multistrada V4S weighs 242 kilograms, while Tiger 1200 GT Pro with the proper equipment weighs 245 kilograms, so 3 kilograms more than Ducati. I feel that both bikes are fairly approachable for their size and weight, and there's nothing worrying or them feeling heavier to deal with than they really are. We can consider them equals here, I think, but I'm thinking that Tiger 1200 may have its center of gravity a little bit maybe lower, and note that the drive shaft is also all the way down there. Still, it's so close in numbers, and in real life I'm having a feeling that it has to be a draw here. In terms of tech, it's interesting. Now, Multistrada can have a front radar with adaptive cruise control that Tiger cannot have, and both can have a rear radar with a useful blind spot monitoring system that warns you that there is some other vehicle in your blind spot with a small light in the respective mirror on one or the other side. Ducati does it better, with those lights being much more visible in real life, so points for Ducati here. Both bikes have digital screens that aren't the best, and they both have a little bit strange menus. Tiger has choppy animations, and you've got to wait ages for it to load after startup, while there's no such issue in a Ducati. Tiger has a keyless ignition with a keyless fuel cap, and I love that. Multistrada also has a keyless ignition, but my bike did not have keyless fuel cap, and I've heard that you can buy one extra. Yes, actually I've also seen that. So let's qualify it as having the same option in the end available. Tiger 1200 can have both heated seats, and it comes with a great advantage in the form of a drive shaft. Apparently Multistrada V4 also can have both seats heated, which is great, but there cannot be a drive shaft. Both bikes also have backlit switches on their handlebars, which is cool. So we've got the front radar in the end versus shaft drive of the Tiger, if we consider it a true tech part. It definitely contributes to everyday comfort when living with a bike. So let's do it this way. You guys tell me what you think and which feature is more important to you, and we will see if it's Tiger 1200 or Multistrada V4S that should be considered more tech advanced. Please let us know in the comments. In terms of sound, in the next category, it's hard to judge as my V4S came with factory installed Akrapovic slip-on. It actually sounded nowhere near any aftermarket exhaust that I've heard before, as it doesn't really sound like an aftermarket exhaust. Maybe it's a tiny bit more loud and with like a little bit deeper tone. Tiger 1200 is almost silent at idle, and apparently both bikes wake up and start sounding much nicer when at higher RPM. Still, at any spot, I would prefer a V4 sound of the Ducati over an inline 3-cylinder engine of the Triumph. It's a personal preference here, and we may all have different opinions. I like Ducati more here in terms of sound, and so I give it a win in this category. I am not really judging off-roading, as neither of those is a dirt bike, and I would do anything I can not to take them off-road. Too large, too much weight, and too expensive. If I was forced to, I'd probably take the Multistrada, because of shorter first gears and larger ground clearance of 22 centimeters. I could just as well ride there on my office chair and the result would be similar. It's not exactly built for that, but as a fun fact, by the way, this 7G11 office chair in Nappa leather is electrically adjustable, pretty good for those who have some back pain. Yeah, so if you're into those kind of things, check them out at powerseats.eu, as they're totally awesome. Now, moving to another nice category, so design. I feel that Ducati looks like a Ducati. Yeah, that's it. While Triumph looks like a duck. Multistrada seems to be massive and muscular, while Tiger 1200 appears as more light, more sleek, sort of. Again, this is a matter of personal taste. Choosing a right color does matter. There are some other factors, but I feel that Tiger 1200 could have made a little bit larger impression. Multistrada, on the other hand, makes more of a statement actually already to me, and it's also a prettier bike overall. It looks more fun, I think, and so it does get a win from me here. And now price and value for money. Base Multistrada V4 with no brakes, no radars, and no S in the name is 15% more expensive than a base Tiger 1200 GT. Yeah, alright, it's a Ducati. It's got more power, yeah, but then aiming for versions that give you more for a bit more, Ducati Multistrada V4S, like this one, becomes over 21% more expensive than a Tiger 1200 GT in a Pro version, so well equipped. I feel that for Ducati fans it may be worth the difference. Then, keeping in my mind that shaft drive and keyless fuel cap, I feel that at this level of pricing, Tiger 1200 GT Pro gives us way better value for money. In my eyes, it does win here. The last category is the X Factor, and while Triumph has a nice engine, Ducati has, I feel, more that can be covered, and that is a more explosive engine. Yeah, that's exciting despite seeming less useful than Triumph's engine. Ducati has its Italian heritage that can be very appealing, and aside from being Italian, Ducati brand has something special about it itself, and I do get it. Overall, it may be a more exciting bike than Triumph Tiger 1200, and it should be, I think, mentioned. Now, this means a win for Ducati Multistrada V4S here. So we've got Tiger 1200 GT winning in engine and performance, suspension, seat and position comfort, drivetrain, fuel tanks, and price and value for money. Ducati Multistrada V4 wins in wind protection, brakes, sound, design, and X Factor. I feel they are equal in handling and weight. Next to that, in tech, I would like to know what you guys think about these two based on which solutions you yourselves value the most, and so you also might perceive one of those is more technologically advanced or just simply useful. We can put it that way as well. If I were to choose and put my money on the table here, I would feel that Tiger is a choice that makes more sense and it does some things better. However, it's already a hell of a lot of money to put in a decent variant, so the GT. I do appreciate its shaft drive and nice flexibility, but I feel that I might be willing to pay extra and just go with the Ducati. Just, you know, the way of saying I ride a Ducati. It's got something cool about that. There's more power available. It might be a better looking motorcycle. It's still comfortable and good handling wise. There's better wind protection and onboard computer that loads quickly. That would make a difference to me. Every day I would be less annoyed with that setup. But mostly it's also a comfy bike to sit on, which is where the Tiger usually scores a lot. So yeah, at this level I would go with the Ducati, I think. Now, if you would like to see my full, honest reviews of both of these bikes, they are linked for you in the description, and so see you there.